Good morning, everyone. So we are back to the social studies of ninth class, and last week we discussed about the second order landforms which were created through internal specialities or internal movements. So today we are moving to the third order landforms, and as we already discussed, third order landforms are created by the external changes of the earth. And in order to have that changes on the exterior of the earth, there are four stages. In the last class, we have a discussion about that: withering, erosion, transportation, and deposition. So these three stages are happening in the formation of third order landforms, and the third order landforms are created with the help of external forces, and we shall see what are the external forces that helps the earth to have the third order landforms. They are water, glaciers, then waves, wind, and vegetation and human beings. Okay, so work of water, work of glaciers, work of waves, work of wind, and work of or action of vegetation and human beings. That is what we are going to discuss today. Okay, how water helps in the creation of third order landforms, how glacier and waves helps, and how wind forms the third order landforms, and how the vegetation and the human beings, how they all are helping the world or the globe to have, or the earth to have the third order landforms. Okay, we shall move to the work of waters. We know that work of water is in different forms. Okay, all the three forms that you are studying in science and all. Here, when we are discussing about the work of waters, water in the form of flowing means rivers. We know almost all the rivers are originating from the mountains. Mountains are on the higher areas. So from the high areas, the water is flowing to the valleys, or from the top to the bottom, or from the top to the down, from up to the down, the water flows. And the water has got power, and the power increases or decreases with the flow of water. If the water flow is in a high speed, automatic its power will be high. And if the flow of the water or the movement of the water is in a slow way, then the power of the water will be slow. Okay, it is all quite natural. So almost all the water are getting originated from the mountains, and from the mountains it moves swiftly. The textbook it used the word used as swiftly, swift movement, very fast movement. At that time, the water has got such a great force to cut the mountains. Everything that comes across the flow of the water will be moved from by the force of the water. And while the water is moving in such a great force, the first form of land, or the first form of third order landform created with the flow of the water is a V-shaped valley. A V-shaped valley. So automatic with the flow of water, a V-shaped valley. That is what we can see, that the valley of two adjoining mountains. Okay, even when you people are drawing the pictures of a mountain and all, you can see that you will just draw like ups and downs, and in that ups and downs there will be a valley, and that is what is called V-shaped valley. And if the water, while the water is moving on and the movement is happening, or it is being blocked with the heavy rocks, rock is not that much soft to be moved, just like the sand and soil. At that time, it takes little effort for the water to remove the piece of rock. So at that time, the water will not be able to create that V-shaped valley. At that time, it creates a kind of gorges. Gorges means the top and the bottom will be in the same size. Okay, just like not a U but something like a cylinder. Okay, the top will be the same and the bottom will be the same size, and both the sides of that will be in a perfect straight way. That is what is called gorges. In Andhra Pradesh we have got the Bison Gorge along the river Godavari. Okay, and another one associated with that gorges is Canoan. And the difference is that the wide or the top part of that canyon is little more wider than the bottom. In gorges, both the top and bottom are in the same size. While it comes to the canyon, the top is little wider than the bottom. That is the difference. Okay, that is so V-shaped valley, gorges, and the canyon. And sometimes when the water is moving on, it may be making the water flow or the waterfalls, and the falling water, it will be, the falling water has got such a great force, and while the water flows or the water falls, it creates a kind of pool, a plung pool. Okay, it will create a kind of a pond like situation, and that part is called a plung pool. So plung pool is another work by the water. Then okay, now it is all created with the flow of the water or the force of the water, and automatic from the top it comes to the valleys, and when it comes to the valleys, its flow will be reduced or the speed will be reduced. And at reduction of the speed, it makes the water to deposit everything what it carries along with. When it is cutting something, when it removes the objects or the hurdles across, it just takes them along with that. And as long as that water has got such a power to carry this, it will be followed or it will be carried. But later on, when it comes on the valleys or on the plain area, it loses its capacity to carry the heavy objects. Then what happens? These heavy objects will be deposited. And by depositing those things, a kind of the flood plains will be created. And the flood plains are created as a result of a continuous process. As a result of this continuous process, the flood plains will be created. And year by year, more and more amount of silt will be deposited, or the debris will be deposited. As these debris are deposited, it becomes high. At that time, the water gets its route diverted, creating meanders, a kind of snake-like creatures. If you take the picture of a river from above, we can see that it is not a straight line. It has got ups and downs. So that is what is called meanders. And in greater extent, that meanders may cut off from the main flow of the water. That is what is called oxbow lake. So these are the major work of waters. Okay, V-shaped valleys, then gorges, then canyon, plung pool, floodplains, and meanders, and oxbow lake. Okay, and the next is the work of glaciers. First, we need to know what is a glacier. Glacier is nothing but the slow moving massive piece of ice. A slow movement of a massive piece of ice is called the glacier. Where do we find the glaciers? In the polar regions or in the extreme cold situations. Because instead of rains, there will be snowfall, and the continuous fall of snow, it may get accumulated on the surface of the earth, and it gets solidifies. It hardens. Okay, whatever it is, even if it is hard or even if it is soft, it is water. And water has got a natural tendency of moving from top to bottom or from up to down. So even this massive piece of ice which is being accumulated on the surface of the earth for a long period of time, it starts moving down. And when it is moving down, same like the moving water, it takes everything along with. and it just creates all the hurdles or all the blockages. But the normal flow of the water creates V-shaped valley, but here the movement of glacier creates a kind of U-shaped valley. Okay, if we carry a heavy piece of log through the mud, loose mud, we can see that the shape of that, the half the shape of that log is on the mud. So such a U-shaped valley is created. Okay, that is one thing. And this while it is moving from top to bottom, from the high areas to the low areas, it also carries the things along with, we already said, and that is what is called silt or debris. And once the glacier reaches to the warm areas, it starts melting, and melting means it remains to be water, or it changes to be water. At that time, its power to carry the things what it carries along with it will be reducing, and it will be deposited in a place. And that is another form or another landform which is created by the glaciers, and that is what is called the moraines. Okay, U-shaped valley and moraines are created by glaciers. Then waves. And the waves, we know, it is being created from oceans and seas, and the continuous striking of waves on the shore, it changes the shape of that shores, and that is what is called coastal landforms. Imagine that there is a big piece of rock, and if that piece is getting strikes from the waves every day, sure, it's there will be some kind of cracks will be, and cracks will getting developed. At last, a hollow place will be created, like an arch. Sea arches will be created, and even after creating the sea arches, the striking of the waves will not stop. It continues. Maybe there will be the middle part will be split, just having two pillar-like situations, and that is what is called stones. And the strikes of the waves creates a steep area. We will call them as sea cliffs. Then another creation is there, cape. When the when the land is cutting into the sea, it is called as a Cape of Good Hope, that you will study in history. Cape of Good Hope, because a piece of land that is extending into the sea, that is what is called the cape. And in the same way, when the water is extending into the land, it is called as Bay of Bengal. You know that the three sides are covered with the land. One side is India, and another side comes Myanmar, Bangladesh, and on. So when the water is getting into the land area, that is what is called a bay. So cape and bay. And another important and beautiful creation is there through the waves, that is what is called the beaches. So you see, the waves creates that sea arches, stocks, cliff, cape, bay, and beaches. And the next is wind. Wind has got power. Okay, wind also changes the surface of the earth, especially in desert regions. Okay, desert, we know that it is covered with the sand, and the heavy wind takes the sand along with. And when the wind takes the sand along with, that wind gets an extra power. It becomes abrasive. Abrasive means what? Just like a sandpaper. Sandpaper, we use the sandpaper to smoothen the surfaces. Okay, so the wind with this kind of sand, it acts as what do you say, that a sandpaper, and it makes mainly mushroom rocks. The continuous blow of this kind of wind on a piece of rock, it may create a kind of mushroom. The top part will be big and a stalk, and that kind of mushroom rocks. Then another kind of rock is there, that what the Inselbergs. Inselbergs is another type of rock created by this kind of wind. Then the most important and most common work of wind is nothing but sand dunes. Okay, small hills created in desert by a wind. And if another wind in another direction happens, then automatically that sand dune will not be there and it will be taken to another. So that is what is created by the wind. Okay, Inselbergs, mushroom rocks, and sand dunes. Then sure, the vegetation, the plants and trees, and even the grass, it changes. Its roots are penetrating into the earth, and while penetrating, what happens with the rain? And through that penetrations, continuous flow of water, erosion. And when the weathering and erosion happens, the transportation follows and the position, sure. Okay, and about the human beings, we know we are the one who just changes the entire atmosphere of the earth through all the possible forces. If the atmosphere is not fit for us, we will make the atmosphere fit for us. We will never change according to the atmosphere, but we will make the atmosphere change for us. So through that we are changing a lot. Even when we are buying a piece of land to construct a house, if the house site is not level, first we will level it. That is our work, and we are creating a separate landform. So everything, all the exterior forces, water, then glaciers, then wind, waves, and the human beings, vegetation, everything takes their part to create separate landforms, and all those are supported to third order landforms. Okay, that's all. Thank you.